Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is SuperCoach Challenges, and today we will be looking at a few things. So with the teams coming out, I couldn't really get a video up on the Thursday, yesterday or the day before, but I thought it was still important to kind of look at this because I think there's going to be a lot of implications for a lot of our teams. This is going to be an important video to watch to get a little bit of an idea of what you should probably kind of be thinking with these buys coming up, because I think a lot of people are just thinking about downgrading, getting money in, which is fine, but it may not necessarily be the best strategy through the buys. Like, we may have to halt a bit of the build into our final teams just because of the way these teams have been shaping up. And that's why I think it's important to kind of look at this. And we'll probably also discuss the game. So from last night. So looking at this, we've got Sydney v Carlton. Obviously, everyone's watched this. We know what happened. Now, the interesting thing that's come out of this is that Carlton suffered 3 to 4 injuries. Not really sure on the term of the injuries, but they did happen. So, and I think it was Ollie Hollands, George Hewitt, Matt Kennedy was under a bit of injury cloud, and then Clips came off late with an ankle. So that's going to be very interesting. Oh, and Nick Newman was injured, I think, as well. So maybe I think Kennedy went back on, but I'm pretty sure Nick Newman was injured as well. So, like, these are really, really, well, they have a few implications for the teams, because people who've held players like Cowan and Chikota, and this is what I was going to say probably before, the start of the round, was that probably keeping Chinkotto was in your best interest, because I think that he, even with injuries, even with the way that they were naming the team, he probably wasn't that far off getting back into the team. I mean, last night, I think he had 29 disposals in the VFL, which was good, but guys like Zach Fisher had 39, and then Paddy Dow had 33. But I even think, like, I was listening to some 5AA radio from last night after the game, and the Carlton supporters are like really, really over the team at the moment. And I'm not sure whether Carlton are going to start swinging the axe a little bit and kind of going, look, we need to try and switch this up because it's not working, we're not winning, and we need to make people desperate for their spot, which could mean that Chinkotto comes back in. I honestly don't see them coming into the team for that reason. I think it's more going to be injuries that kind of push players back into the team of relevance. And I think that Jason Binns, I don't know how to say his name, I think he was playing quite well in the VFL as well. So it'd be interesting to see if we get some of these players back. I think Cowan hasn't really been lining it up, so I think he maybe not. But I think Chinkotto is a very big chance of getting it back into the team. Look, and looking at Sydney, like, we know what happened here. So they obviously dropped Gould. I'm pretty sure Stevens played quite well, but they got smashed in that game. In the what's it called? VFL. But another interesting thing that came out of this was McAndrew was subbed early and Hickey played the main ruck. So I'm not sure whether it was an injury. Maybe this will tell us. It just looks like it was a tactical sub. So yeah, that's not good for people who brought him in early, because it could potentially mean that they just go, nah, he's just not quite ready. And to be honest, he didn't look. He looked like he needed to work on his ruck craft a little bit, because it looked like Pitnet was kind of bullying him a little bit around the ball. And Pitnet is quite a hard ruck matchup, so you can kind of see where that comes into it. But yeah, he just looked bullied. He looked like he looked a lot bigger than Pitnet, but he just couldn't get those taps out. So, hopefully for us, he stays in. And, even hopefully for just him, because he needs the development, and it's great playing at a higher level. Like, you can play VFL all you want, but at some point you got to give him a run in the ones, and hopefully he continues after his bye. But that will be interesting to see. I'll go more into those scoring after with the review of that. But now looking at St Kilda Hawthorn, so there's nothing really interesting here, so we can skip that. I mean, Fergus Green was named in the emergencies, but I think most of us would have moved on from him. Obviously, the big one from Melbourne was Clayton Oliver. Honestly, I think it's a trade with just how the money is, and the Fats will need scoring players through the buys. So I know, yeah, it's probably not a bad time to miss him. And if you do have enough players in round 12, you are actually probably all right, because round 13, 14, 14 he wasn't going to play. 13, we should have enough players, so you just need him back for 15. The problem is going to be if he's out for 15, because then it's and you don't have enough players, because then it's like, oh, I should have just traded him before. I've already lost points from a premium not being on the field, so that's something you're going to be looking at. But I have a feeling he'll be back definitely by that round 15, because he's obviously missing this week. Oh no, sorry. Even round 12 he could be back by, because I think this is maybe a 1 to 2, unless they haven't been giving us the full information. But this guy wants to win a Brownlow, so I think he'll be back as soon as possible. Otherwise, not much else to talk about here. The other rookies that people may have had, Sturt is an emergency. Hopefully, look, honestly, if he plays a sub, I'm fine with that, because it gives him a chance to show something at the top level, but also it just means that he's kind of the first choice if an injury comes up. Like, I'm pretty happy with him being sub, because I don't really need the money right now, but I'll need him to be playing so he can get a chance at making some money. And if Matt Johnson doesn't play as well as he needs to, it could be Sam Sturt straight back in, and that's what we want to see. For Sturt holders, for Matt Johnson holders, you're obviously hoping that he holds. Geelong. So this was one of the first teams that really pissed me off. I just don't understand Geelong's mantra sometimes. Why? Like, Mitch Nevitt was playing quite well. Even Dempsey wasn't too bad. You've got Holmes going out, so that's a midfielder going out. So you bring in Henry, who's a forward, a key defender in De Koning, and then Mullen, who's never played at the level, Irish boy. Like, I understand there have been some really good Irish players to come through, and apparently there are big raps on Mullen, so maybe we're wrong, and maybe he'll be a great rookie, and we'll be all picking him up in 2 weeks, or even 1 if people want to actually 3, because the bye will be after his second game, which is kind of good timing for us. But, you know, I just think it's annoying that guys like Nevitt, like guys that they should be getting games to, are getting dropped, and we're just, Geelong are just going to play their old guys into the ground. Parfitt, why is he playing? Honestly, he's been less, just because he's got a few more games than like guys like Nevitt and stuff, he's been less impressive than Nevitt. And I just think it's time that Geelong actually put some games into some of the younger players. I guess Tanner Bruin's getting a run. We could have had that at the start of the year, Scott. Fuck, you're annoying. Oh my God. Sorry for the language, but it's just pissed me off. Like, why is it taking them this long to think that, oh, Tanner Bruin actually might be a decent midfielder? I mean, I guess Dangerfield and now Holmes have gone out, but then why did you drop another midfielder? So they pushed Zach Guthrie up from the back line, where he's been playing probably quite well, and brought this Mullen in straight on field, and brought back into Koning. So, look, honestly, I can see, Jez is what, 20, 27, 28. I can see this bloody blowing up in their faces later on when the Tasmanian team comes in and they can't get rookies, and they just can't trade. Like, Geelong and Hawthorn, and we've seen the implosion with Hawthorn now. Geelong are probably a little bit safer because they've got this like little kind of niche where they can get those Geelong players, and they keep building up good players and just getting them back for nothing from teams. But you can see what's going to could happen is that, like, Isaac Smith old, Jezza old, Hawkins probably got 2 more years. Stewart's like 28, 29, so he's probably got 2 to 3 more good years. Like, who's standing up for this team once they're gone? You need to get game, like Jack Henry's playing in full forward, so that kind of shows that they may be trying to do a bit of make a new full forward once Hawkins goes. I don't know. I mean, I know team sheets aren't exactly correct, but even then, ruck, like, they're playing Blitzars and Segler in there. And I know Blitzars has played like a ruck midfielder role, but why would you not try and get some games to these young guys? Even Tui's old. So, like, they're going to lose a lot of players. And I just don't see, and like Dangerfield, these guys are going to start falling off. Sam Melangola, stuff like that. And I just can see it becoming another Hawthorn, but with no way to get any players through the draft because they'll all be going to the Tasmanian team. But I guess that's something that is up for the Geelong list management. And I've talked for too long on that. Another one that was a little bit annoying because I thought he was kind of a nice, maybe pod rookie, but like Cam Fleeton has been dropped, which is a bit interesting considering they lost one defender, a guy they were playing as a defender, and then Josh Kelly as a midfielder. I'm not sure about Callum Brown and Lachlan Keith. Haven't really watched much of GWS. It looks like Lachlan Keith's maybe a bit of a key defender. Brown's playing that pocket. But yeah, interesting to see how this team lines up. So Ben Long's come in over Constable, who was playing way better in the VFL than Long was. So that kind of shows you where he is in the pecking order. And with that, Ellis has been omitted, which doesn't help either. I heard apparently Joel Jeffrey, I've been hearing from other people, has been playing a bit of backline. So hopefully, I think George said that on his video that Jeffrey's been playing a bit of the backline in VFL. So that could be interesting, but I think he's pretty high price, so it's not like it's going to be relevant. Johannesson injured, so that makes Dale very interesting. Dale very interesting because he's cheap and he can start scoring well. But personally, I wouldn't want to go near it because I don't think this is a hugely long-term injury. And if you get to finals and Johannesson comes back and then Dale's role's screwed again, like, do you really want that? Yeah. Otherwise, these teams are pretty unchanged. Obviously, the big ones in Bailey Humphrey and Rory Atkins are both held, which is really annoying because the people who went on them are getting them for the buys. And honestly, I thought Rory Atkins would probably go out with Ellis and Weller coming back and guys like Long, but apparently not. And Bailey Humphrey didn't really seem to have the scoring profile, but it looks like he now does with Tuke out the team. So that's good for those. West Coast, so Campbell Chesser, that hurts people who had him, and he looks like he could be a sub candidate. There's not much money to be made there, but I guess he's playing. That's what you want. Hearn and Barrasso. This is like another, this is what I mean with Geelong. Like West Coast are going through this exact thing where at least they're going to be able to build off the draft for the next 5 years because, they should have rejigged their their list a long time ago. Like Hearn, be gone, along with many of the other players that just get injured all the time and really hamper them throughout the season. And it's just all happened at once this year. And now they've got no guys who've really built up through the midfield, no guys that have really built up, as forward line players, except for Oscar Allen. And then their back line is where they probably are really good, but it's where they've always been good. And then they're missing key pillars of that, McGovern and Hearn until now, and Yo can just never get his body right. Like, I just think West Coast kind of could be what that Geelong are in the future if they don't blood these players. And then Essendon, they've dropped Alan Davey Jr. and Baldwin, who were two players we were thinking about playing because Laverde's back, which could help Ridley. I think he's an interesting watch. Personally, can't go there because he just keeps dogging me. But yeah, nice watch. Merritt. So O'Neill's been dropped. So Merritt is very much a captain option. Brought in, I think he's like percentage ownership's doubled this week, which is great because no one ever thinks about him. And then he scores a 160 against Richmond and all of a sudden everyone wants him. But the good thing has been that there were a lot of premium players that have a little bit of more reliability than Zach Merritt, especially with all the midfielders out, that also had low break evens and stuff. So people had to split where they were picking, which kind of pushed Zach Merritt down a little bit, especially with the rise of Butters. But yeah, Merritt's there. Probably a good captain option. Ben Hobbs also looking good, 300 and something K. They do have a very easy run, but I just don't think you're going to make the money off him by the time you need to trade him. unless he goes like 130s, but highly unlikely. But they do have West Coast and North before their bye. No, West Coast, North, and someone. I don't know who before their bye. So, yeah, 3 games where you could get it out of him, and maybe he's a bit better than or a bit different to Humphrey and stuff. But, yeah, interesting to see what happens there. Ben Miller, Tyler Young. So people who held Tyler Young getting a bit of a boost here because he's back in the team and he's named on field, which you'd love to see. So that's good for those. Sampson's held his position, but he's not named on, and Ben Miller is named in the team. I really don't like that for Ryan because that's 3 possible rucks. So that like reads to me that he's not even going to get any ruck time. So not good for the team. But anyway, yeah, not great, but we'll move forward with that. Horn Francis is playing well still. So he was on the extended bench, but now they moved him into the field. So that was weird. Just another weird thing that people do with their team sheets, or teams do with their team sheets. So Evans has been omitted, who was a rookie that maybe some people brought in as a like bit of a pod rookie, but not working well. Dylan Williams continues to annoy us with how good he's playing and how he was named a sub when he was on the bubble. And I think it proves a reason why maybe you should be playing, not thinking about subs as much and thinking about the scoring potential because, took 1 injury and he was in. So, been a very good rookie. Another that's been omitted is Drury, who's been omitted. So it's not due to his injury. He's actually been omitted, which is not good. Cameron Zohar, Charlie Lazario in. Wardlaw and obviously Ford are the interesting one. Oh, Phoenix Spicer is also a 123k player. And I don't think, and there's something importantly I'd like to say, I honestly think you can't go earlier on Wardlaw or Ford. The reason being is if either, like, we've just seen through the rest of these teams, the injuries and the changes in teams and how they're affecting our bench. And we really don't need another 123k depth player or 183k depth player. Now, I think in the case of Wardlaw, the only way that he's missing, I think he's like in the team unless he gets injured. So that's probably fine. But for Ford, you know, a lot of people have been talking about his scoring outside of last week, and it's been really, really bad for SuperCoach. And he's another that could eat. Like, if we look at this, you know, Drury could replace Ford. So what's your confidence in that? I guess Phillips is playing, so that's something, but he could also easily get dropped. But what is your confidence in Ford continuing to play? You really need to wait for him to get on the bubble. I just don't think you can go early on him at all. Nothing really different for Collingwood. And then coming down to the Crows, Worrell's in, but he's 320k. I actually thought he was cheaper. The rest we know about. There's nothing really here except Sharp getting dropped. Oh, and Parnell, if you went on him, I was pretty happy with how Parnell was playing, but I guess, dude, they decided to go Worrell. I think this is matchup, though, because Brisbane have a tall forward line. So Danaher, Hipwood, Gunston, they're all pretty big. And I really think this is actually maybe a matchup change rather than anything because Worrell's a bit of a big defender, and which is why Parnell's probably been dropped. Hinge injured, so that was 2 defenders out. But I guess Duday came back as well. Himmelberg, yeah, he was never really playing much. And like Gollant was just he will be playing way more football next year when Texas, or not next year, but the year after, or whenever he retires. So that will be when Lockie Gallant really comes to the table. Daniel Rich is back in, and Wilmot has kept, but he is the last on the bench. Perfect world, Wilmot would lead the team as we trade him out, and Sharp would get a game again, but I think this is going to be injury orientated. I think there is a what's a pathway for him to get into the team. So like a Jared Berry getting injured on the wing could mean that Sharp comes straight back in. But we're not hoping for that. I know that guys like Coleman had injury concerns, but he seems to have one every week and then just play anyway. And guys like maybe Barry with his bad shoulder and stuff like that. But yeah, it could be. This is what I mean, another dead rookie. And this is why we can't go on them before the bubble and we can't listen to coaches because they just talk crap a lot of the time because, you know, you had Fagan saying, oh, yeah, you know, Sharp, we think we just need to get games into him now. And he's like starting to get really good, yada, 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 which would have been a main reason a lot of people went on him because they're thinking, all right, he might have a bit of job security here. And then, he gets dropped. So not great, but I guess even Daniel Rich could do another injury because he seems to just be getting injured all the time now. So we just got to wait and hope Harry plays well in the VFL and maybe he'll get a chance to get in. So this video has actually gone quite long. So what I'm going to do is, I'm sorry for this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this and finish with the game last night and kind of discuss this a little bit. And then I'll get into what my main idea for the video was today in another one so that you're not here for 30, 40 minutes. If you want to go to that now, go for it. So looking at the Sydney game, I think the interesting thing that came out of this was that Lloyd was getting a lot of kickouts. So, sorry for that. So, Lloyd was getting a lot of kickouts. He told Blakey to like go away in the first quarter. It's my kick out, that stuff like that. It's pretty funny to watch. But he's been playing very well. He's kind of got that little bit of a seagull roll back, and the 139 is big for the people who went on him. What's the CP? Is that contested possessions? Must be. Anyway, playing really well. So if you got him in early, that's very nice. Blakey had a good game. Not sure how much this stands up in a regular game because the Blues are the Blues. Warner had another good game, but this 112 was boosted by 2 goals won. So I guess he had three free kicks against. So that's something to also think about. Goulden. Goulden had another good game. He looked like he was on for a big score. I think some people would have VC'd him, but sadly just kind of gets burnt a little bit, especially at the SCG by players. So not much good there. Otherwise, Francis, if you got him in, he only scored a 46. This could have been a lot worse for the last quarter. And as we said, Mick Andrew, 23, not great, but hopefully he can continue to play. It looks like he was on the bench sub. So, yeah. Corey Warner came on, scored a 1, so maybe that will decrease his price and we'll get him at some point. And you actually get some main game time if there's some injuries, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Otherwise, yeah, if you do have Francis, just hope he's not on field and just I think he's going to keep playing, especially if they keep winning. So that's good for him. Parker was actually someone I was looking at as a pod as well. The 77 wasn't great, but I think he had quite a low break even. He's in the 540s. I thought he looked quite well, but yeah, apparently it is not a good scoring match for him. Now looking at Carlton, so Wiedering had another big game. We did have him in our team prior to this, but we got rid of him, which I did kind of flag. Maybe it was a mistake. We should have been upgrading from the bench, but that's fine. Doherty, that's a bit annoying, the fact that he's scoring so well. This is what we were expecting at the start of the year, and then he just had injuries and it just weren't playing him right, and now he seems to have that role back, and he's playing well, so I think people were thinking about picking him up at 500k-ish, and would have been a good pick by them, but he does also have the bad buy, which will be the subject of the next video. Kind of a hard one to bring in for a lot of teams. 105 for Walshy. I'm not sure about his mid-forward split. It looks like he was playing a lot of mid, and especially with so we did flag that Hewitt going off was the being sub was the catalyst for him getting the big mid role, and it may have happened again with the sub out. So because this was quite early. So, yeah, I think his DPP status is going to be really, really unluckily missed. But that's sometimes how it happens. And funnily enough, he played the whole quarter. He probably would have the whole year. He probably would have the mid forward because he played so much mid forward early in the year. Newman, hammy, so not good. Hopefully that means Chincotta in. What do we got here? Right knee taped in third quarter, so Durnan could have an injury problem as well. And then we got Hollins, who had a left shoulder problem as well, so not great. And Cripper, who came off with the ankle problem. So yeah, that's what I mean. There could be quite a way for them to get in the team. I think otherwise not much more relevant. Like, yeah, Cripps had another bad game. So I think someone asked in one of my videos at the bottom, should I be getting Cripps or Petrarca? And it looks like I said Petrarca, and it looks like that's worked out really well. But you never know how Petrarca's going to score without Clary. Could go good, could go really bad. And then like Cottrell is interesting. I don't know what he's priced at, but McGovern 99. Someone we flagged as potentially, but he's been really up and down. Brody Kemp had another good game, and he's going to probably be like 280k after this week. So, because he was on bubble for 240, so that's a bit annoying. But you couldn't really trust his position in the team either because he kept getting dropped. So, yeah, that's no good. Otherwise, not really much relevant. So I might just have a look at Cottrell. So as you can see, this is what the team looks like at the moment. And I'll kind of take you through what I kind of did as well. So Cottrell's 335k, so, and he's probably on the bubble as well. No, yep, he was on the bubble after 93.33. So interestingly, he went another 90. But yeah, looking at the team, so I made the change and brought in at the moment. We boosted, did we? Okay, I did boost, and I put out Hunter and Hinge, brought in Laird, Weddle, and Humphrey for green. Now, the reason Humphrey was for green was because, at this point I'm going to keep it, but it was because of his buys. It's like, it really gives us another player in the buys who's probably going to play the whole time. And if you can get to 400k, it's probably more than Fergus Green was ever going to do on the bench. So kind of happy with that. Next week, we could go Baker down to Wardlaw. So that's another 110k we can make. Cincotta's probably going to play now. Chess is not playing. Drury's not playing. And you might fix up Davey and Roberts next week as well. Like that, we could go sideways to Davey, but I'll probably try and make money off Baker. Otherwise, we've kept Ryan, we kept Chandler. So we've kind of stick the rest. The only thing that kind of changed was bringing in Humphrey from green, which was a 18k upgrade. So maybe we should have done it last week. I was kind of thinking that we won't. So I've got 3 boosts left, which would be 12 trades, would leave us with 5 anyway, with 3 trades in that last buy round. So I'm not really sure we're going to need boosts anyway. So, yeah, even if I use them all, and they could be maybe a little bit useful in the back end. I don't know. Probably not, because we only have even if we don't use them, 3, 6, 9, we're going to have 8 trades left. So anyway, that's this video. I'll move on to the next one, which was more about the buys, probably what you want to watch. It's probably going to be a bit shorter now, which is good. But hopefully you enjoyed this. Leave us a like and give us subscribe. Obviously free. And hopefully you got something out of this video. It was a lot more about the teams in the game last night than anything else. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.